feels like a space, you know. I told you, you're my buddy.
So it's now 7 o'clock. We're going to call the regular meeting to order. Requirements of the Sunshine Law have been met. This meeting was advertised in Burlington County Times on January 10, 2022. Electronic notice was given pursuant to the NJAC 5:39-1.5. We will now lead in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will now have a moment of silence. Thank you. Roll call.
Committeewoman Berkeley,
Present.
Committeeman Carr,
Present.
Committeeman De Silva,
President.
Committeewoman Mungo,
Present.
Mayor Henley.
Present.
Also present is Township Solicitor, Township Administrator, Deputy Clerk, Chief of Police, and presentation from Joe Henry.
Perfect. Thank you. We will now begin with the presentation from Joe Henry from Hardenberg Insurance Group about slips, trips, and falls. Thank you.
Sorry to be here. Just to give you a little background, as you have to do as a member of the JIF, you're required to have a safety program. As a member of the JIF, you're required to have safety in the agenda at least once a year, so I come up with a program. Topical, I hope. Slips, trips, and falls this year is what we chose, primarily because it's always number one or number two when it comes to causing workers' comp claims. We always like to recognize your safety committee. I can tell you it's very engaging, it's very involved. We'll give you members here tonight. Wendy is the chief. Chief serves as fund commissioner, Wendy is claims coordinator, and Ted Burns is the safety coordinator. And we're very happy to have the police on board when it comes to the safety committee because a lot of them. So I want to recognize them for their efforts in 2021. See on page 4. I'm going to skim over this very quickly for you, so I'll bounce around page to page and let you know where I'm at. We received $3,150 last year as a result of your safety committee's efforts. If they weren't doing what they were doing, you would not have got that money. So moving on to the next page, the topic, I'm going to focus on 3 areas. Why slip, trips, and falls occur. They are preventable, and how the JIF can help you. So just to give you an idea of how far they can pay, I am now on page 7. These are the statistics for 2019. So trips and falls cost employers over $17 billion that year. 22% of those accidents result in more than 31 mistakes at work. We have a small municipality like yours that must pay how that's going to be on the rest of the workforce when people are out of work. Tragically, over 800 people died in the workplace just from slips, trips, and falls. Excuse me. With over 800,000 non-fatal injuries resulting in days of work. We're going to page 9 now. A little display here of how these injuries impact you as an employer, how they impact your employees. To the employer, they want to put in the business, as I mentioned previously. I have listed here as a possible increase in insurance premiums. I can show you if it's bad. So a really bad claim, you're going to have a definite increase in insurance premiums. And also additional costs associated with training or hiring a replacement for that injured party. The impact of the employee can be devastating. Lost wages and out-of-pocket expenses, pain and suffering. They can suffer temporary or permanent disabilities. And also, in the worst case scenario, death. So moving on to page 18. We have ways of preventing these accidents. That's what we do. We have those respect to injury. The safety committee discusses it. The how, the why, how it happens, what we can do to prevent it. And listed here are some of the ways of doing that. I'll pick out a few for you just to maintain good housekeeping. I'll show you something a little later on how that can be done. Decluttering space areas, providing adequate lighting, and also ensuring the handrails are good working order and in place. On page 19, the next page, all these injuries occurred in the gym, but none of them did happen here, so nothing along with these numbers. The first one, the employee tripped over a bag in an aisle, causing a fall. That employee suffered serious injuries, knee injury, fractured teeth, and requires spinal surgery. End result was a $360,000 claim. After the fact, the policy was established prohibiting anything in the aisle and conducting an evening inspection, which falls was done prior to the On the bottom, the employee fell from a ladder attempting to move a wall bracket. Tragically, that employee suffered leg trip and injuries, never returned to work. Although the claim was over $900,000. After the fact, again, all employees were given ladder training, which is a requirement by OSHA to begin with. On page 20, I'm just going to show you a few ways how the JIP can help. That's what they're there for. On this page, you've got the MSI catalog and online courses. All these courses are available at no cost. And remember, they're showing ways to prevent surface trips and falls. On the next page, there's a DVD library. There's 1,000 DVDs related to many topics, including surface trips and falls. They also got safety goals available. Page 22, I highlighted picture of somebody standing on a pool, standing on a pool with wheels. I've seen people standing on the pool, on chairs, wheels, and putting them on tables. It's never a good thing. Lots of serious injuries as a result of this. This bulletin shows you how to avoid those injuries. Next page, I mentioned ladder safety earlier. This bulletin shows you ladder safety. The employees are going to do that kind of work. You can do a simple 2-3 minute toolbox talk prior to them doing that work to ensure they're doing it properly. And the last bulletin, managing slips and falls during the winter months. Fortunately, winter is behind us. We will definitely see a spike in claims during the winter months, obviously because of inclement weather. But here, we use this very, very frequently during the winter months because we do see a lot of injuries related to that. But once again, we do a school box talk on these that will help reduce those types of claims. That concludes the certain falls. Any questions related to this or your safety program on behalf of
Do you come and give an overview of our building and our department and things?
Remember the JIP, it's called a loss control report, not us, but Jay Montgomery is the loss control consultant, the safety consultant for the JIP. They will come out and do facility inspections of everything, including the playgrounds, sports facilities, and the interior buildings.
Thank you.
And what we do with that, with Lieutenant Ferguson, the chief, and Lindy, when they have their safety meetings, that list will come out. What they're doing is giving you things that are possible hazards, slip, trips, and falls for your area, and then we will review that in those meetings, and Public Works will go ahead and address those and get those corrected.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Nancy, just to piggyback off of that, the safety committee, Lieutenant Ferguson will drive around with individuals from J and Montgomery to the facilities within the township to make sure that they're, that everything's okay with them. If not, we get the and like just every quarter we get together and have a safety meeting, we report all this stuff to make sure the building, all the township properties are safe.
I know we had talked about in the budget to replace carpeting in your offices with something that cannot be torn up by the boots and things. So I don't know if there's something that is more safe than others so it doesn't have slips and falls.
That's something that was addressed. I think administrator was working on some.
Great. Thank you.
Have a great vacation.
Thank
Thank you, Mr. Turner. We will now open the meeting to the public on agenda items only.
So, Garrett Graham, 38 Winston. So a couple things on the agenda. The first thing, I noticed there's an absence of an item, which is the approval of the minutes from April 5. Is that deliberate or omission?
Would you like me to answer that? So the deputy clerk is in training right now and learning how to create minutes for the township committee. And due to scheduling conflicts, there are no minutes available to be read at this meeting. It's available for the next meeting.
Okay, yeah, I just noticed that. Okay, thanks for explaining that. I had a question about the reports, item 8 on the agenda. The first is about the police department report. I was just hoping to get a little context around one of the items around overdoses. If you can just provide some context, is that from illicit narcotics?
So it's something that the state of New Jersey has been trying to accumulate data, and the reason is where they want to try to get grant money to help provide Narcan kits to individuals who were overdosing. So we've been keeping track of those numbers, but most of the time it's overdosing of heroin.
Okay.
If that answers your question.
It's illicit narcotics. Ultimately, I guess my question is, what happens to the person after hopefully they've survived the overdose?
Okay, so there's a couple different programs out there. The county prosecutor's office has a program. What they do is we provide, as the police department, we provide alternative routes of mentoring or assisting after the fact. So if an individual does overdose, they have the opportunity to go to the hospital if they want to. If not, they can sign off for refusal, and then we provide a Narcan kit for them in the event that they do this again. But there are follow-ups with them, those individuals afterwards to see if they can, if they seek treatment and things like that.
Yeah, because the reason I'm bringing that up, Steve, is because Bordentown Township became the 5th township in Burlington County to participate in the straight treatment program, which I think is what you're talking about.
One of the things, there's another thing, this 24/7 thing, this straight treatment is when you go directly to the police department to do that, and what they want to do is strategically place those throughout the county. So that's why they have an Evesham and Mount Holly. So Mount Holly's one, so I don't think there's a question will ever happen here in West Hampton because it's so close to Mount Holly.
Okay, all right, well, I appreciate it. That was my question, thanks. The second question was on the public works report. The author of the report, it just says public works. Does that sound about right to you? Who's writing these reports? That's ultimately what I'm trying to figure out.
Our public works supervisor, Chris Taylor.
Okay. My only issue with the report itself is that it's somewhat incomplete. As you know, we have an ordinance that requires how the report has to be composed. Part of that requirement in the composition of the report submitted by the director is that the report has to also state the specific cost of the service provided. The report, I looked at the report, this report, I looked at the report the past month, none of the reports indicate that the costs are actually therefore provided. So my concern for you as a body is whether or not you can legally accept the report, because I believe, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, that it is below threshold for admissibility because it does not comply with the requirement of the ordinance in this instance. It mentions that a contractor installed some service. We don't know what the cost is. I think we're entitled to know that. And the law says that we are entitled to know that because that's what the report states, or it's supposed to state. So that's just my comment on that. On the resolutions, I have a question about, or a comment, I guess. It's on 9B, 66-22, the resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of general obligation bonds. So in the packet, I took a look at the resolution, and I have a couple of questions. The first one was in the packet, maybe it's page 35 or page 6 of the resolution. It's on section 9. It talks about the appointment of Bowman and Company to provide the electronic and/or physical dissemination of the official statements. They're noted here as a, quote, printer. Actually, Bowman and Company is a pretty reputable, well-renowned CPA firm. They do provide printing services. I'm just wondering how they happen to pick to be the, quote, disseminator of this information if they're not actually, assisting in drafting it in any way, shape, or form. I guess my concern is I don't have an issue with them in doing a good job, but it may be, something that is over-inclusive in terms of this. Looks like a fairly ministerial type of service that we're asking them to produce. That's just something for you to maybe think about, or at least that's my comment on that. And then I want to jump to section 17 of that resolution. I guess my question there is there's a line here talking about the tax exempt obligations during the period from January 1, 2020 to December 31, 2020. And the amount of the obligations that is able to qualify tax exempt by will not exceed $10 million when added to the aggregate principal amount of the bonds. I guess ultimately I was sort of curious if that's the right set of dates, but if not, there's an Exhibit A, that's attached to this, and there are several tables. And I guess I'm trying to figure out, do the tables have something to do with that figure that you referenced? Was the period mentioned of January 2020 to December 31, 2020? It'd be helpful to know if it's a typo, is it the dates, or does the table have some meaning to that figure?
Give me one moment.
Unfortunately, this is not a resolution I prepared. This was prepared by bond counsel, so I'd have to look at that and get back to you. I do know that the tables represent all the funds that are being lumped into this bond offering. There's a combination of both notes that are due to expire as well as new money used for capital expenses going forward. So that would be the intent of
Yeah, the tables have some notes from 2014 in there, so I
Yes.
just want to make sure that if that number's tracking and it's accumulating, I think it looked like to me it was around $5.3 million or so. I think that sounds about right to you all. But again, I guess my ultimate question was, are the dates right? And then, what do the tables have to do with it on that? And then just the other item here is, I didn't see it earlier, but it was introduced later. It's 10C 70-22, the resolution authorizing compliance with the EEOC requirements. And I'll have to open up Mr. iPad here because so on that, the way that I'm looking at it, let's see here, I think it's page 49 or 49 of the packet. It's in the therefore resolved clause. It says that the parentheses name of governing body, close parentheses. Is that a typo?
Yeah, that's a typo.
And then of the parentheses name of local unit.
Yeah, that must be a typo.
Typo.
It's a form resolution that's required by the state, and essentially fill it in. The EEOC guidance is regarding, generally speaking, discrimination in the hiring practice, and more specifically regarding criminal background checks. It's a prerequisite to adoption of the budget. Governor Christie put this in place in 2017. Essentially, there's requirements that are set forth in the EEOC guidance, considering the nature of the offense, the timing of the offense, and the nature of the employment as part of any time that you want to disqualify somebody for a position due to something coming up in the criminal background.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good.
Thank you.
Are there things that we should pull until they're corrected, or what's the?
No, I think with the EEOC resolution, those are just scrivener's errors, my errors, and not saving the document before I sent it over. It's a form document. The essence of it is that you are familiar with the EEOC guidance. We adopted a resolution like this last year, and I briefed council, except for new committee woman Berkeley, on the requirements. So I think that can be adopted. We'll make the clerical correction, put West Hampton's name in there.
What about the information from the bond council?
We'll look into that, but I believe that the intent is clear in the document. If it is a error that is supposed to be 2022 instead of 2020, the intent here is again to issue the bonds on, I believe it's May 17th. The bond ordinance will be adopted at a special meeting, and that clearly lays out exactly what's included in the bonds.
So once that's updated, is there a place that the residents can find it?
Yes, it'll be corrected and posted online with all the other adopted resolutions.
It has to be done before Monday, right?
No.
So are we passing B, or are we waiting till the 28th?
Actually, if you prefer, we can clarify that and adopt it at the same time as the bond ordinance is adopted on Thursday, next Thursday.
That sounds great. So we're pulling B, right?
Just B. And what about the,
Mayor, you're not pulling it. When you get to...
Tabling it, yes.
and what about the public works report? No. And what about the public works report?
The committee could, that could be tabled as well, and that report, there's
I think that would be fair.
facts on it. It can be adopted at a later meeting after corrections are made.
I feel like it should, I would say yes.
Huh?
I would say yes, I mean,
Yes, sir.
correct.
Yeah.
To pull it and have it, or table it
Yes.
and have it corrected.
So, well, we don't have to vote on it, we just mentioned it in
No.
the other reports.
Yeah.
Thank you. All in favor to close public comment on agenda items? All in favor, say aye.
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 Perfect. Monthly reports, West Hampton Township Police Department report of March 2022, Public Works report, we already talked about, making sure that we add the cost in there. Resolutions, 65-22, payment of vouchers. This resolution approves the payment of bills through 4/19/2022. Do we have a motion?
Silver make a motion.
Berkeley, second.
Roll call?
Berkeley,
Yes?
Carr,
Yes.
De Silva,
Yes.
Mongo,
Yes.
Henley.
Yes. Resolution,
5-0, motion carries.
so,
Read it.
okay. Resolution 66-22, resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of general obligation bonds.
Move to table? Is that what you want to do?
Yes, perfect.
Move to table.
Carl, second.
Roll call?
Berkeley,
Yes?
Carr,
Yes.
De Silva,
Yes.
Mongo,
Yes.
Henley.
Yes.
5-0, motion carries the table.
67-22, resolution adopting municipal budget. Do we have a motion?
Mungo motion.
Carl, second.
We will open the public for any public questions. I know you've been waiting for it, that's why I do it. Want me to do it? Just ask me nice, and I'll do it.
There you go.
Talk to me nice.
Is there anything we can share with the public that helps them understand why we are raising taxes or not raising taxes, or things that are different in this budget?
Hold on, so just in the packet, the caption, resolution 67-22, it says here, authorizes the adoption of the 2021, is that right?
Typo. Should be 20.
Right, we fixed it.
Okay, sorry.
No, it's okay.
Gotcha,
That's why you're here. Yeah, listen, we appreciate it.
thank you. Sorry.
No worries. With no questions, motion?
Carl, motion.
We already had-
Berkeley, second.
Roll call?
I thought we already had.
Berkeley,
Yes?
Carr,
Yes.
De Silva,
Yes.
Mongo,
Yes.
Henley.
Yes.
5-0, motion carries.
Consent agenda, resolution, consent agenda. Resolution note. Consent agenda items are considered to be routine and will be enacted with a single motion. Any items requiring expenditures are supported by the certification of availability of funds. Any items requiring discussion will be removed from the consent agenda. Does anyone have anything they need to remove?
No.
Nope.
We have a motion?
De Silva make a motion.
Second, Berkeley.
Roll call?
Berkeley,
Yes?
Carr,
Yes.
De Silva,
Yes.
Mungos,
Yes.
Henley,
Yes.
5-0, motion carries.
OPM mailbox and correspondence, there are none. We will now open the meeting for public comment. Please remember to state your name and address for the record. Good evening.
My name is Rosalind Lockley, and I'm at 98 Charlotte Boulevard in West Hampton. And I was just interested in obtaining some information if the township has any on the work that is being done on Springside Road. They're clearing a large area, and I was wondering, perhaps maybe you could give us, my neighbors and myself, some information on what was taking place there.
Absolutely. So we'll answer your comment like at the end, because now there's comments or questions, and then we answer them at the end. But I live in Spring Meadows, so I know what you're talking about. Do we have anyone else?
So in the world of obscure articles, but this is actually from the Atlantic Monthly, so it's Gary Rivera 138 Wednesday, which I didn't expect to read the Atlantic Monthly. It was in the science section, and it was an article about the spotted lanternfly, which we know is a menace, and I've seen them in my neighborhood. And interestingly enough, the author goes on to discuss what's going on across the river in Pennsylvania. And what caught my eye was basically the thesis of the article was that humans are causing more damage than the spotted lanternfly. Here's an example. A client had used an insecticide, mistakenly spraying a herbicide, which is on the Roundup. So instead of spraying insecticides, they're actually spraying herbicides on trees and killing the trees. So use the right kind of pest control, I think, is the ultimate gist of this. But it's astonishing what people have done. The quote from the article is, they've seen people in Pennsylvania run propane torches up and down the trunks of their trees, dousing plant life with kerosene, engine starting fluid, oven cleaner to deal with the pesky bugs. Confusion whether or not you can use a common pesticide legally to kill these. One person said that they prefer to try to use a can of hairspray and maybe try to light it on fire. Let's stick with the tried and true. Maybe you can help us out. Maybe a little information on the website might be helpful as a friendly reminder. That's all I'm saying, because they're out there, right?
You're right. Thank you. Anyone else? We're going to close the public comment. All in favor?
Aye.
Dates to remember, next scheduled meeting is May 3rd, 2022. Liaison reports or comments from township committee members?
I have a comment. I was fortunate enough to be able to go out for the Easter egg hunt that happened 2 weeks ago. It wasn't as big as they normally get, but it was still good to have the kids out there being able to go out there and get their Easter eggs. So I just want to thank the rec department for that, with their time and effort of putting that all together. The kids really loved it. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
I also attended the Easter egg hunt. My daughter really enjoyed it. I think rec department did a fantastic job with it. Also, I had the opportunity to observe West Hampton Police Department do some training today, and I just wanted to comment on how hard they trained, and they have all my confidence and trust that they're doing their best to protect our community. That's all I have, sir.
The ham dinner that Rancocas usually has twice a year is not going to be held this May. It was very hard to find hams, and they got twice as expensive as much as everything else. And it was really hard, and We just thought we would regroup and try to have it in October. The other thing I'd like to request is that before COVID, we would meet at 6 or 6:30 as a committee in a workshop to talk about our future, what we wanted to see. It was not a formal thing where we had to pass things, but it brought up discussion and things. And I'm thinking there's lots we can talk about. We've lost a lot of businesses that have gone out of business. We have a lot of empty stores. And maybe we could come up with some way to bring businesses back to West Hampton and fill those stores. We still have this grant for $230,000. And again, I would like us all to discuss what we can use it for. Not in anything particular, but I think it's a decision that the group needs. I just think there's a lot of things that we could talk about. If there isn't anything, we don't have to have it, but we keep talking about moving forward. Everyone runs on moving forward and getting more services and improving things, but we can't do it when we just have an agenda and we vote yes, no, or yes, 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 yes. So I would like to, and it needs you to agree with me, because I can't make this decision by myself, but I think it's a good decision that we meet and we talk about things. And people can come, residents, and say, we've got a problem in West Hampton, how can we deal with it? Or like this lady wanted to ask a question. We could spend more time discussing your answer if we had a workshop meeting. Then we come here, and it's a short meeting with going through the agenda and voting on them. So I would like to put that before you, and it is up to the majority of the committee if you agree or disagree. Thank you.
Thank you. Last, and hopefully not least, to answer your question, ma'am, clearing out the fields is because there's a housing development going over there. That's been in the works for a little bit, so that's what the movement is going over there. And not speaking for you, but speaking as a resident, like a resident in that development. You know, obviously, the thing that's a little bit scary is the traffic pattern, but I do have the faith that on those roads that they're gonna work that out. But it's a part to grow our community, and something that the Land Development Board's been working on for quite some time. So they finally started, utilizing it and getting it together. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, I went back a year at the meeting minutes, and I didn't see any mention of anything about that.
It's called Laurel Run.
Laurel Run?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and, I think that it's going to be, it's going to be quite large, because,
498 units.
yeah, and the impact on the taxes with the increase of potential for kids in the school system and so forth.
I think that one of the things that I know that we've done or that I've done is that the superintendent of schools does understand that, and he does. When he talked to me, he had a plan as far as what he's been in contact and understanding that once the shovels hits the ground, he feels like they have some wiggle room of what they could do. With our school system. Obviously, our school system is very important to us, especially with our rating. Like I think we're an A- rated town, which is outstanding, and a lot of it has to do with our schooling, as well as our community. Our community is growing, and we've had an opportunity. It's like, do you grow houses or do you put warehouses? You know what I mean? Like, but something unfortunately is going to go. But you understand, like, what the yin to the yang is, right? So, not to bring up the bad W word, but but understanding, like, there are going to be some houses, but we also are trying to preserve some of the open space as well, for whatever should come in the future, from our kids to our grandkids, et cetera, how long that lineage stays in West Hampton. To comment on Committee Woman Berkeley, one thing that I would look at if I were you, like after Easter, hams are like $8. So once everybody buys the ham for Easter, the prices drop significantly. So it's probably not a bad idea to be able to research it at that point, and you guys may actually even be able to do better, like with the prices of ham dropping significantly after the Easter holidays. That's usually when I get it. And lastly, I don't necessarily disagree with the 6 o'clock meeting or 6:30 meeting. But like tonight, we're having a meeting at 8 o'clock. And one of the reasons are, you know, if anyone was here early, like, we started the meeting at 7 o'clock on time, like, you know, from people coming from work or whatever the situation is with their family or friends. And what happened was, you know, being here for a little bit now, you know, some people will come at 6, and then sometimes people will come at 6:15. I mean, everyone would do their best, but, you know, everyone has their jobs and their situations. So the things that we try to do is, the things that are very, very important that we need to discuss, especially as a team, we usually try to do it afterwards, or we'll do it in the middle of the meeting, as you guys have seen before as well, to be able to have time together to discuss some things. Now, obviously, the thing that's important to remember in our form of government, you know, one vote can't do anything, there's 3 votes. So, you know, obviously, I'm just speaking upon what I see, but whatever the team decides is something that I think that we all will do, we've done before. I think that we remember that meetings were on, what day were they? Nancy, you would know.
Excuse me?
Meetings were previously on a different day, and then we moved them to Tuesday to try to make sure that we gave residents.
They were Monday, and with Mrs. Chang becoming mayor, she changed them to Tuesday. Because Monday, I think, was a Board of Education meeting at the same time.
Right, and then when me and Linda got on, they changed the meetings to a different day
Right.
as well. And again, that was really just to make sure that, you know, residents could come out and just try to make it more accessible. So, you know, if residents honestly are saying, listen, it's got to be 6 o'clock, we need to be there at 6 o'clock, I'm sure that everyone up here would understand that and do their best to make that change. So a lot of it doesn't just fall on us, it falls on you guys to make sure that we're available, to make sure that you guys are able to join and be a part of the community. I'd like to thank our police chief, who's always here, our neighbor, our resident, who brings like a lot of great facts. Like just day to day, like his consistency. And even I appreciate, you know, you guys coming and just coming week to week. It, you know, it's supportive, but you know, you always get to stay in the loop, because if you're always here, then anything that we pick up, we're going to feel obligated to discuss with you. With that being said, we will be adjourning the meeting room for closed session. No official action will be taken. Upon conclusion, we will be adjourning the meeting. So at this point, we're going to go into executive session.
Need a motion for executive session.
I need to read the resolution number 4-19-2022. Resolution authorizing the mayor, township committee, and staff, supporting staff, to meet in private session and authorizing the exclusion of the public from the portion of the meeting dealing with specific issues requiring non-public discussions, which will be personnel. This session will occur after adjournment. No official action will be taken. Do we have a motion?
So we'll make a motion.
Second?
Roll call.
Berkeley,
Yes.
Carr,
Yes.
De Silva,
Yes.
Argyle,
Yes.
Henley,
Yes.
5-0, motion carries.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Take a few moments to address anything that you need to add to the meeting.
Are we leaving or staying?
I got them redone on Monday. Thank you.
Sandy? I wasn't thinking as much as that.